Cowboy football ends winless in conference.
Cowgirl basketball suffered their first loss of the season.
And how National Sign Day is giving us the post of the future. All this and more coming up on the Poke Report. Welcome into the Poke Report. I'm Steve Spears.
And I'm Peyton Schmidt. This week we are inside of GIA, where basketball and wrestling have been dominant so far this season.
But first, we'd be remiss not talk about the worst season in Cowboy football history. Wednesday, it was announced that both defensive coordinator Brian Nardo and Casey Dunn were relieved of their duties.
That's right, and you never want to see coaches leave or get fired. But this is the first 3 or less win season since 2000, so something obviously had to change. We're going to send it over to Ashton Slaughter, who has the breakdown of the coaching staff changes.
With Oklahoma State football's worst season since 2000 finishing up, many expected changes to come out of Stillwater. And 5 days after the Cowboys season ended, change seemingly happened. On Wednesday, OSU reportedly fired offensive coordinator Casey Dunn and defensive coordinator Brian Nardo. The moves were made days removed from the Cowboys' 52-0 loss to Colorado to end a 3-9 season, the worst since Mike Gundy took over as head coach in 2005. And Gundy spoke on how coaching needed to improve multiple times during the season, like after the Cowboys' 42-21 homecoming loss to Arizona State.
We need to do a better job of coaching, in my opinion. Again, I need to evaluate the video tonight, but I'm not so sure that I've agreed with our schemes. I don't.
Whether it was Dunn, Nardo, or somebody else's job being affected by the disappointing season, changes were bound to happen. Dunn has been with the program since 2011 and has served as offensive coordinator since 2020. He leaves OSU with good moments on his resume, but inconsistency in Cowboy offenses since Dunn's role increased have plagued him. And Nardo, who just finished his second season in Stillwater after making the jump from Gannon University, a Division II school, had a shorter tenure than expected. This season, his defense looked shaky before linebackers Nick Martin and Colin Oliver suffered early season-ending injuries. After that, the Cowboy defense spiraled. Now, though, all eyes are on OSU to see if it makes any more changes. The OSU A&M Board of Regents scheduled a special meeting for 7:30 a.m. Friday, and according to the agenda, the meeting calls for a, quote, executive session, if approved by the required number of members present, for the purpose of considering evaluation/assessment and other information relevant to the employment of Oklahoma State University football staff, end quote. The meeting is ahead of the Regents' regularly scheduled 10 a.m. meeting. Whether more changes come or not, though, Dunn and Nardo's firings shake up OSU football, and with the transfer portal opening on December 9th, the offseason is only beginning in Stillwater. For the Poke Report, I'm Ashton Slaughter.
The Poke Report will keep you all updated on any new changes regarding the coaching staff.
Yeah, Cowboy fans got what they really wanted after that embarrassing loss at Colorado. Our very own Garrett Dutton is going to break down what was the worst game of the season so far for the Cowboys. Garrett?
The Oklahoma State Cowboys fall winless in conference play after a 52-0 loss against the Colorado Buffaloes. The Cowboys fell flat on their faces early, going down 21-0 in the first quarter. Travis Hunter, the current Heisman favorite, started off his monster day with an interception against Milwaukee Smith, and on the other side of the ball, caught an early touchdown. Head coach Mike Gundy says Hunter's talent was on full display.
Special. We challenged him too much. We threw at him 6 or 8 times, 10 times. There's not really any reason to challenge him at times. Going in, I said this on Monday, I mean, he plays about 135 plays a game-ish on both sides of the ball, and he's a special player. You don't see guys like that come along very often.
The margin only grew in the second half. 2 more touchdown passes by Shadur Sanders and a 33-yard field goal would give the Buffs a 38-0 lead going into the fourth. Former OSU Cowboy DJ McKinney hit the highlight reel with a 13-yard pick six. It only got worse until the final whistle. This is the first season that Coach Gundy has ever gone winless in conference in his career, and this was his worst loss ever. He says the team will look to rebuild for next season.
We'll have, a signing class of players that come in. We've got 27 guys-ish that are leaving, and then we'll have what was going to be customary in the future, probably 25 or 30 total guys that will be coming in.
The Pokes shift into the offseason needing to acquire talent for the new year. From Folsom Field, for the Poke Report, I'm Garrett Dutton.
That ends the season for the Cowboys, but that brings on the offseason. With this team, you have 32 seniors now returning next year. You already have 2 players in the transfer portal and 1 declared for the NFL draft.
It's not the season we had hoped for the Cowboys, but I am going to miss spending my weekends in BPS.
Oh, for sure. But you know what that brings? Cowgirl basketball season. Now, the Cowgirls started out 7-0 so far on the season, but took their first loss down at Daytona Classic. They start playing a little bit stronger teams down there.
Right.
Daytona Beach Classic started with the Cowgirls with a win over Arkansas, 70-56. 16 points both from Staley Hurd and Jaden Wooten sparked the Cowgirl offense, and Tina Magassa would lead a dominant defensive night with 3 blocks herself and 11 for the team. Both teams shot under 30% on defensive slugfest, with the Cowgirls pulling away in the second half. On Saturday, the Pokes faced off against Richmond Spiders. Both teams came to the game 7-0, a similar first half to the Arkansas game, but with good defense on both sides. The Cowgirls had a 1-point lead heading into the half. Jaden Williams continued her great play with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. The Cowgirls wouldn't be able to keep up with the Spiders and fell late, 57-53. The Cowgirls played Houston Christian Wednesday and won 93-39. A bright spot continues to be Wooten, who has earned Freshman of the Week honors last week.
She's been super fun to watch, as well as the rest of the Cowgirl team. Coming up after the break, we'll have our final recap of soccer and, of course, the new Pokes hitting the mat.
I want to show you something. This is the money we could save by switching from fresh packed California crushed tomatoes to concentrated tomato paste.
I want to show you something, too. I got a new door. Go take a look at it.
Nobody uses better ingredients than Little Caesars, like fresh-packed California crushed tomatoes. Pick up a large, deep dish for just $8.
Pizza, pizza.
Introducing Lincoln Black Label at Diffie Ford Lincoln. Designed to impress those with impeccable taste, Lincoln Black Label features a collection of interior themes and a host of exclusive membership privileges inspired by attention to detail and a love of automobiles. With Lincoln Black Label, you'll enjoy an extended premium maintenance plan that covers wear items or even remote vehicle delivery. Lincoln Black Label isn't about luxury ownership, it's about membership. Lincoln Black Label, exclusively at Diffie Ford Lincoln.
Welcome back to the Poke Report, and thanks for sticking with us through that break. Cowgirl soccer has had their ups and downs this past season, and as we give you the final recap of that season, they still had a pretty successful one, to say the least.
Yeah, it's definitely a step back in the right direction for Coach Carmichael and his team making the NCAA tournament this year.
That's right. We're going to send it over to Molly Nicholson, who gives us the overview of some of the seniors and kind of their perspective, even though the season didn't end as they wanted it to.
As the semester is wrapping up, so is the season for the Cowgirl soccer team. After being selected to the 2024 NCAA tournament to face number 2 Arkansas, the excitement and emotions were running high for the Cowgirls, especially for senior Alex Morris.
I'm just happy we're in the tournament, and I think Arkansas will be a challenge, but I don't think it's anything impossible for us, so I'm excited.
Unfortunately, the Cowgirls fell 4-0 to the Razorbacks, and their time in the NCAA tournament was short-lived. Although the postseason did not end in an ideal way for the Cowgirls, they finished with an overall record of 14-5-3. This is the most wins for the Cowgirls since 2019. The Cowgirls ended with 42 goals on the season, with 19 allowed. Goalkeeper Grace Gordon tied her OSU career high with 8 saves in her final game as a Cowgirl.
I mean, personally, I love having actions during games. I love when we're going up against a hard opponent.
When you're on a team, leadership plays a big role, and for the Cowgirls, they owe much of their success to their coach, who has hit a milestone of his own. Colin Carmichael just wrapped up his 20th season as the Cowgirls head coach, with 225 6 wins in his career. He has led the Cowgirls to 13 NCAA tournament appearances and 6 Big 12 titles. The most recent news for the Cowgirls comes in the form of new players. The Cowgirls added transfer wingback Emma Alvord to its roster shortly after their season ended. Alvord played her first 2 collegiate seasons at SMU. Carmichael says her skill set is the perfect fit for OSU's system. The Cowgirls also signed 7 new athletes to join their roster for the 2025 season, including 2 girls from Canada. For the Poke Report, I'm Molly Nicholson.
I'm excited to see what the new additions can bring to the pitch next season. Steve, you know what sport has gotten off to a dominant start so far this season? Wrestling.
Yeah, the team has yet to give up more than 6 points under head coach David Taylor. We're going to go to our very own James Walsh, who has the lowdown on what's going on with the Mets.
Cowboy Wrestling heads to Vegas this weekend for the Cliff Keen Invitational for an in-season tournament loaded with national talent around the country. The Cowboys head back to Vegas for the second year in a row now, where they had a 9th place finish as a team last year and look to improve on that this year after a promising start to the season. Coach David Taylor is excited for the well-rounded competition this week and thinks it should be a good test for his guys.
I think you gotta be focused. And it's just a good opportunity to see guys that we won't see throughout the season. See some Big 10 competitors, and obviously non-Big 12 competitors, and then obviously there's a lot of Big 12 teams there as well. So we're going to see those guys multiple times this year. So it's just a chance to go out and guys wrestle the way they want to, and get the opportunity if you can separate yourselves to do that.
Senior All-American Dustin Plott is making his return to Vegas after avenging his only loss of the tourney last year to Nebraska's Lenny Pinto.
Plott was able to grab a 3rd place finish last weekend at the Cliff Keen Invitational, but familiar foe Parker Keckeisen awaits him this weekend as the two seem to be the favorites heading into 184 this weekend.
Plott and Keckeisen have had their share of matches as they met 3 times last season, most notably in the National Championship and Big 12 Championship match. Keckeisen got the best of Plott in both matches after a couple of late takedowns from Keckeisen would put the matches away.
I think it just kind of builds confidence knowing that you got to compete against better guys in your weight class early on in the year and, answer any sort of questions you might have as far as, their feel or how you're going to feel wrestling them. It's a great tournament, great opportunity.
Plott had the best season of his career last year, compiling a 31-4 record and his first berth to the NCAA Finals. You can catch Plott and the rest of the Cowboys in action at the Cliff Keen Invitational this weekend on Flow Wrestling. For the Poke Report, I'm Max Chardon.
You can catch the Cowboys competing tonight in the Las Vegas Cliff Keen Invitational, which goes through the weekend.
For those of y'all who don't keep track of all the off-season moves, there's been some new faces to the Cowboy wrestling team. The Pokes added 3 big transfers who have all come into the season, all ranked inside the top 10 at their weight class. At 165 pounds, former Michigan Wolverine Cameron Amin has won 2 of his 4 matches of the season. His first loss came against Utah Valley and his second last weekend against Arizona State. Amin will look to bounce back over the weekend. Moving up a weight class, Dean Hamidi Jr. was already a 2-time All-American coming into Stillwater and is looking to add to his legacy this season. He is undefeated on the young season, but has looked dominant throughout with a major decision against Arizona State. Finally, we get to the big man. Heavyweight Wyatt Hendrickson comes over from the Air Force Academy, finishing in 3rd place in nationals the past 2 seasons. The 2-time All-American has dominated this season, winning and adding extra points through the 4 matches. We'll have to see how these new Cowboys continue their season, but now they're looking pretty good.
I know it's too early, but I think these guys are going to go far in nationals.
You could say that, Steve, but they do still have a long season to go.
I'm ready for some playoffs. Now, we got our own little version of this past weekend with all 4 teams trying to fight for the Big 12 championship. But to go into detail, because I didn't know how they all could have got there, we go to our very own Big 12 analyst, Caroline Cook.
Thanks for that, guys. Well, the regular season is finally over, and while the rest of the football world is fighting for those flags being planted, the Big 12 teams are fighting for that chance to get into the Big 12 championship. Going into the week, 6 Big 12 teams contended for a trip to Arlington this weekend, creating a major chain reaction as every game except one went final. On Friday night, Utah's win 28-14 over UCF played no major factor in the scenarios for the trip to Arlington. However, the win did break a 7-game losing streak for the Utes after being projected to lead the Big 12 this year according to media preseason rankings. However, the early game on Black Friday started off the chain reaction for the Big 12 tiebreaker tree as Colorado left no doubts with a convincing 52-0 win over OSU and Boulder. The Buffs were led with a major performance from arguably Heisman favorite Travis Hunter as he put up 116 yards with 3 touchdowns and an interception. The big win for the Buffs would take our attention out to Waco. Baylor pulls away with a 45-17 win over a Kansas team that was looking to continue their winning momentum after beating 3 ranked teams in consecutive weeks. The Bears would lean on a 4-touchdown performance from Sawyer Robinson to give them win number 8 of the season. The Jayhawks fall 1 win shy of bowl eligibility, while Bear fans will await to see where Baylor will travel for their next bowl game. And while Sawyer Robinson was letting it fly in Waco, the run game was leading the charge for Texas Tech as Taj Brooks rushed for 3 touchdowns in the Red Raiders' 52-15 win over West Virginia. The passing game was also hitting the mark as Baron Morton completed 68% of his passes for 359 yards aside 2 touchdowns. But the Mountaineers and the Red Raiders await the news on where they will be traveling this bowl season. Moving into the afternoon, the Territorial Cup was up for grabs for the first time in the Big 12 as Arizona State traveled to Tucson to face off Arizona. The Sun Devils came into the games as the top-ranked team in the Big 12 and were looking to make a statement for the College Football Playoff Committee. They would take a demanding lead early in the game with a stellar performance from Big 12 co-offensive player of the week, Cam Skattebo. Skattebo would capitalize his day with 177 yards and 3 touchdowns, with 2 of those coming within the first quarter alone. The Sun Devils would make their mark with a 49-7 victory. ASU fans would turn their attentions to Cincinnati as a road victory for TCU over the Bearcats would send the Sun Devils to Arlington. The Horned Frogs got rolling early as Savion Williams would make 2 first-half touchdowns to help TCU get out front 20-7 at the half. However, the Bearcats were not looking to go out without a fight as Brendan Sorsby would find the end zone late in the 4th. But the effort wouldn't be enough as the Horned Frogs would come out on top with a 20-13 victory. The TCU win solidified ASU's spot in the Big 12 championship game and would let the fate of the final spot lie in the last 2 games of the night. Fans far and wide tuned into Ames as the Farmageddon battle between Kansas State and Iowa State will eliminate one of 3 teams that remains in contention going into the evening. With cold temperatures and a chance at the first 10-win season in program history for the Cyclones lingered, the Wildcats were looking to play Heartbreak Kid as both teams would trade scores in the first quarter. However, a big second quarter lead by Cyclone quarterback Rocco Beck would give Iowa State a 24-14 lead going into the half. Kansas State would bring the game back into reach late in the 3rd, but could not seal the deal with a scoreless 4th quarter. The 29-21 win would give the Cyclones their first 10-win season in program history and would officially knock BYU out of contention of the race. Which leads all roads to Provo, Utah, where despite the Cougars being eliminated, BYU and Houston held the fate for who would land the final spot in Arlington versus the Cyclones. A BYU win would send the Cyclones to Jerry's World to face off against the Sun Devils, while a Houston win would send Coach Prime and the Buffaloes to AT&T Stadium for a spot at the Big 12 Championship. After exchanging scores early and some crucial mistakes by Houston, BYU would officially punch the ticket for Iowa State to Arlington. And after almost 37 hours, while the first kickoff of the game with implication, the matchup is decided. The Sun Devils and the Cyclones will meet up in Arlington this Saturday at 11 a.m. with both teams coming in at 10 wins. Both teams will look to capitalize on the opportunity to possibly qualify for the 12-team playoff. And looking ahead at the postseason, the Big 12 will be represented by 9 teams this postseason, which is the least of the Power 4 conferences. I'll be interested to see how these games play out and who will be taking home the Big 12 championship and possibly be in contention for the college football playoffs. That's all I have for you. For the Poke Report, I'm Caroline Cook.
So I guess Colorado wish they could have gave some of those points to Houston on the back end. But when we return, some fresh new faces are headed to Stillwater.
All the details regarding Cowboy basketball's trip to Charleston.
And Peyton's favorite segment, the Pick'ems.
That's right, I'm up 4 games. Stay tuned.
At ASAP Energy, our goal is to provide the best customer service for whatever our clients need.
My relationship with ASAP Energy came about in 2007. I was wanting to build a convenience store. I didn't know how to do it. I had never been in the business. I just felt comfortable with Rick. And so I knew that I wanted to do business with a guy like that. Integrity, loyalty, and family. I would recommend that to anybody. Thanks for taking a chance on me.
At ASAP Energy, everything matters.
Where were you born? It's a question asked all the time. Because where you're from shapes who you are, inspires how you do things. And when that inspiration comes from a place this refreshing, this majestic, this... well, you get the idea. Coors Light, born in the Rockies.
Welcome back to the Polk Report. Now, as the fall semester ends, we're ready to bring in some new recruits to the Cowboy family.
Absolutely, Steve. Wednesday marked the early signing day period for football, and the Cowboys are bringing in 19 new faces to their roster next season. The 2025 signing class is led with 11 offensive players and 8 defensive, with the majority of the players coming from the states of Oklahoma and Texas. 16 of these players come to Stillwater out of high school, while 3 come into Cowboy country with junior college experience.
Some of the top recruits in the 2025 class can be found on the defensive side of the ball. Redshirt sophomore defensive end Shadavian Bradley transfers from Hutchinson Community College, ranked as the #1 JUCO edge rusher by 24/7 Sports. Bradley redshirted at Tennessee in 2023 before transferring to Hutchinson Community College, where he received all KJCCC honors while racing up 23 total tackles and 6 tackles for a loss in the regular season. Bradley signs with OSU after having offers from South Carolina, NC State, Kansas, and others.
Another recruit that's leading the charge of the defensive line is Rashad Bradley out of East Mississippi Community College. The junior comes into Stillwater as the #3 JUCO edge rusher, according to 24/7 Sports. Bradley played under Coach Buddy Stevens, who is known for his time dominating the junior college football world by being able to flip struggling Division I transfers into superstars. Bradley has had an impact since his freshman year in 2023, as he has recorded 32 tackles and 1.5 sacks in 17 games at EMCC. Bradley looks to make his mark on Stillwater, coming off of an honorable mention 2024 All-MAC campaign. Bradley also received offers from Arkansas, Appalachian State, USF, and Temple, and more.
The final big recruit on the defensive side of the ball ranged from Carl Albert High School. Carvion Young, the 4-star recruit according to 24/7 Sports, is listed as in the top 300 nationally, as well as #4 overall recruit in the state of Oklahoma. Recording more than 250 tackles throughout his high school career, along with 7 interceptions, Young recorded more than 60 tackles and double-digit tackles for loss in his senior season. He becomes a Stillwater after being part of a strong team out of the OKC Metro that rarely loses. He hopes to remain impactful as he saddles up for the Cowboys next fall. The Cowboys looking to get back on track with this recruiting class on the gridiron.
Absolutely, Steve, and they're also looking to continue their historical traditions on the mat as well. Head coach David Taylor announced the Cowboys' 2025 signing class, which is ranked 2nd in the country according to Flow Wrestling, behind Cornell. The recruiting class features a nation-leading 8 signees inside the top 100. 6 of the recruits in this year's class call the great state of Oklahoma home.
The Cowboys keep one of the nation's top recruits in Stillwater as top-ranked 165-pounder Ladarian Lockett sails up for the Pokes next year. Lockett is the 3rd overall prospect in the 2025 class and is considered one of the most coveted recruits in his class. With a gold medal finish at the 2023 U17 World Championships and a U20 World Runner-Up finish past summer, the 3-time Oklahoma State champion will look to have success at the collegiate level.
Alongside Lockett is Landon Robideau, who currently ranks 5th amongst his weight class nationally. Robideau comes from St. Michael Albertville High School in Minnesota, where he has won 3 state titles. Along with his titles, he also set the state record for takedowns as a junior.
Another top-ranked recruit for the Cowboy Wrestling is Sergio Vega, who sits at #6 in his weight class nationally. Philippians commitment from Cornell, the 138-pounder had a stellar 2024 campaign for Sunnyside High School in Arizona. Vega has won multiple state championships and is expected to compete at 141 or 149 pounds as a Cowboy.
Well, it sure does look like David Taylor's having his presence felt early here at OSU, and hopefully he can add another banner to the Raptors here soon.
Now, while GIA does have a rich history when it comes to wrestling, it also has a great history when it comes to basketball. The Cowboy basketball team took part in the midseason tournament down in Charleston. We're going to go to our guy Landon Patz, our basketball expert, to learn more on how the experience went.
Welcome back into the basketball update. I'm Landon Patz. Let's get right into it. Oklahoma State wrapped up at the Children's Shriners Charleston Classic this last week, where they played 3 games, lost 2 of them, but played a hard competition. In the first game, Oklahoma State faced off against FAU. Team both came in 4-2 versus 3-1. Oklahoma State would have a strong showing, scoring 78 points, their leading scorer being Robert Jennings, who had a double-double on the day with 16 points and 11 rebounds. Their second leading scorer, Khalil Brantley, 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. But it would not be enough, as the FAU Owls would take the game 86-78. Cowboys would come back and bounce back against a big program in Miami, winning 80-74. Nigel Pack for Miami scored 20 points and had a career high in the day. Oklahoma State, though, would keep the high-paced offense moving. Bryce Thompson would score 17 points, hit 2 3-pointers. And off the bench, Chi-Chi Avery would have 15 points and 8 boards in his 27 minutes. He's leading all Cowboy scorers right now, averaging 13.5 points per game. Final game of the series, Nevada. Justin McBride making his return against Oklahoma State. Abu Uzmain would score 11 points, 6 boards, but would not be enough as Nevada would score 90 to Oklahoma State's 78. Well, just on Wednesday, we saw Oklahoma State go down the road for the Turnpike Classic against Tulsa, and seemed to work out well for them. In the first quarter, Bryce Thompson would be lighting up the scoreboard, keeping the Pokes in it early and making sure that he would keep his teammates in it early. Thompson would finish the night with 15 points and 4 assists. Further in the game, Abu Uzmain hitting the inside layup and 1. 13 points, 7 boards on the night. Keeping going here, Chi-Chi Avery, 11 points, 6 boards, and 2 assists on the night would help the Cowboys move on 76-55. Pokes will look to keep the momentum rolling as they go in the Big 12 Big East rivalry match against Seton Hall this Sunday. We'll keep you posted with everything going, but that's all we have for the update. Back to you guys.
The Cowboys have to get back on track with some big matchups coming down the pipeline. You have Seton Hall, and you also have Oklahoma, which takes place in OKC.
Well, Steve, as the regular season is coming to a close for college football, many are still fighting for a spot in the national playoffs.
I'm fighting for a spot, not the East and Spice's wings. Let's go ahead and get into Peyton's favorite segment, because I trail right now, the Pick'em segment.
4 games, don't forget it.
I can make up ground. First, we're going to go with the Mountain West Championship. You have UNLV and Boise State. I'm picking first on this one because I need to make up some ground.
Right.
I can't pick against Boise State right now. They're way too high.
And you thought I would pick UNLV. Funny, I'm going Boise State as well.
Petty. Big 12 Championship, you have Arizona State and Iowa State.
Okay, I'm going Arizona State.
I'm going to have to go Iowa State
Okay.
For the upset.
That's fair.
We know who's Peyton's picking with this game. This is going to be the SEC Championship between Georgia and Texas. I'm going with Georgia because we saw what happened last time.
Okay, but to be fair, I just don't think that Texas was on their full display. And they did have a great win against Texas A&M last weekend.
What was the score?
So we're not going to talk about that. But it's the fact that I feel like Texas is kind of like in their redemption era right now, and they're going to win. They're going to win the SEC championship. And I may be wrong, but it's okay. I have 4 games of wiggle room, so.
I feel like Peyton definitely has some Taylor Swift in her her recap this year.
No, I don't.
But the Big 10 championship, Penn State and Oregon. I'm picking Oregon on that.
I'm picking Oregon too. Can't go against Dylan Gabriel right now.
Come on, man. The ACC championship, Clemson and SMU. I'm going SMU for the upset.
Okay, then I'll go Clemson.
Somehow, somebody help me. Army and Navy.
I'll pick first. I'm going Army.
Army's the better team. I gotta go with Army as well.
Dang.
And pick for the Heisman.
Okay. You can go first on this one.
How can you not pick Travis Hunter? Like, he's doing it on both sides of the ball.
I second that. I'm also going to do
So
Travis
what
Hunter.
Peyton's really doing is just being petty right now, picking everybody I pick.
Right.
Who you got for the national championship?
Oregon.
Oregon?
I do have Oregon.
Give me Georgia. That's where I'm going, and that's going to end our semester of hosting here at the Poke Report. It's been great. It's been fun. I want to thank everybody who's been a part of this.
That's
It's been
right.
a pleasure.
And thank you all for tuning in to our weekly episodes. And hopefully this isn't the last time y'all will hear from us.
Oh,
Go.
wait. We did have a bet about the wing, whoever loses. So check on social media to see who ends up eating that wing.
That's right.
For the Poke Report, I'm Steve Spears.
And I'm Peyton Schmidt.
Go Pokes.